What is going on, everybody? It's Colby Van Camp. I'm the executive sports producer for Wildcat 91.9 KSTB Manhattan, the Kansas State student radio station. I'm doing a fun little series called Call It Coach, where I've got Benjamin Coach Wade, the Dragonslayer himself. He's joining me to do all sorts of fun stuff and talk about some college football. Namely, we're going to do some predictions, some score predictions for the Big 12. Kansas State has a bye week this week, and it looks like Texas Tech does as well. So here are the big games, Coach. We already missed one, but that's okay. I had forgotten that Baylor and West Virginia were playing this last Thursday, and West Virginia pulled up the upset in Morgantown, 43-40 over Baylor. So Baylor's now 3-3. They have a couple of losses that I think are going to force them to not be in Arlington in the Big 12 championship. Meanwhile, before Thursday, this is going to switch up a little bit because Baylor. Actually, no, this is actually today. So Kansas State, my Wildcats, currently lead the Big 12. They're 3-0 in the Big 12. They're 5-1 overall. They took a nasty loss to Tulane in week 3. Just one of those slip-ups. A lot of people will look back and say, what if? But I'm glad actually that they took that loss because I think that it set them up for success to roll into Norman, take down number 6 Oklahoma, and then I think Oklahoma lost twice to Kansas State. They got pounded by TCU 55-24, and then I think they lost twice to TCU. They got absolutely destroyed 49-0 against Texas in the Red River Showdown. So that was wild. It's been a crazy week of college football, but it goes the Big 12 standings: Kansas State, Oklahoma State, TCU, Kansas, Texas, Texas Tech, West Virginia, Baylor, Iowa State, Oklahoma. Oklahoma hasn't started 0-3 in conference play since 1998. That was a good year for Kansas State. We missed the national championship probably by one play. There was a fumble that was called late in the Texas A&M Kansas State Big 12 championship game that would have been overturned if instant replay was allowed. But alas, here we are. That was a big year for the Volunteers as well in that national championship bid. You got Peyton Manning at quarterback. And Mike Cat has decided that he's going to come and visit for just a second. So I'm going to try and move him out of the way. But yeah, so that's where we're at. Unbelievable standings in the Big 12 right now. I really can't believe that Oklahoma and Iowa State are tied for 0-3. Speaking of, we had our score predictions. Our score predictions were nowhere remotely close to any of the games. But I will say I abstained from predicting the Kansas State-Iowa State game. I think that's bad mojo. But I did get all the other ones correct. I was 3-0 in the count for the 8 teams that played, right? So 8 divided by 2, 4, right? So I was 3-0 for the count. You went 3-1. You predicted Oklahoma to bounce back and take care of business against Texas, and that didn't happen. Texas thoroughly pounded them. So now we've got 3 matchups today. You got Iowa State at number 22 Texas. You got number 19 Kansas in Norman against Oklahoma. And then you have a top 15 showdown, number 8 Oklahoma State at number 13 TCU. And that's going to be a 3:30 p.m. kickoff on ABC. Let's see, that's going to be Fort Worth. Fort Worth is hosting this yet again. So where are we feeling about the Big 12 this week and the 3 games that we have on the docket for today?
You're the expert, boss. I'm just along for the ride, man. You beat me by 1 game. For sure, I'm not going to mess up the Tech score since that's already in the books. Against Baylor, I would have bought to that one. So anyway, man, you're the boss.
Okay,
let's go.
Let's start Iowa State at number 22 Texas. Iowa State, they're 0-3. Their defense is one of the top defenses in the country. They have a top 5 defense. Kansas State, even though they won 10-9, the score does not reflect how well Kansas State played against them last week in Ames. And Kansas State put up the most yards in both the passing and the rushing game that Iowa State has allowed at the entire season last week. So I think Iowa State's defense is going to continue to look stout. I think they have Will McDonald IV. He's one of the best pass rushers in college football right now. I mean, he's just nasty. Kansas State ran a max protection, and he still got through untouched and sacked the quarterback. It was crazy. So Iowa State, I think it's going to be a little bit closer than people are predicting. If Texas shows up and does what Texas has the skill to do, then I think that they have the opportunity to take this game. And I think that they take it 24-17 against Iowa State. But it could go either way. Texas is notoriously inconsistent. Some days they look like they could be playing for a national championship. Some days they look like they're champions of the toilet bowl. So I'm not sure what it's going to be. But I think that I'm gonna play it safe. I'm gonna go with the ranked team. I'm gonna take Texas by one score.
I'll take Texas as well, 21-6.
21-6. Okay. Okay. So are you saying only two field goals or a missed PAT?
Two field goals.
Two field goals. Okay. All right. Coming up next at 12 p.m. from Norman on ESPN2, you got number 19 Kansas at Oklahoma. Oklahoma has something to prove. They're 3-3. They're 0-3 in the conference. Kansas, they also have something to prove. They're 5-1. They're 2-1. They lost game day last week, 38-31 to the Horned Frogs. That was a sweet little yes for me as I was driving to Ames to call the game for Kansas State. But it was still a close game. I think it was closer than a lot of people thought it was going to be. If Oklahoma's defense plays like we know that they can, I think Oklahoma can really take the wind out of KU's sails. But if Jalen Daniels is back in the game, he had gone out with a Fouche injury. It's a fall on outstretched hand, a Fouche injury. He has apparently a grade 3 separation of his shoulder or something like that. And it might mean that he's out for the season, but he says that he's not. We don't know yet. So if he's playing, I think that it could come down to the wire. And I'm going to go 35-31 Oklahoma.
Wow. You're picking Oklahoma to win?
I'm gonna go with the Sooners on this one. I think that even though KU's playing really well, I think that the Cinderella season has to stop at some point. And I think that Oklahoma, I would not want to be playing an 0-3 Oklahoma that is hurt. It's a wounded animal in Norman. People are gonna. This is the tipping point for Oklahoma. If they lose this game, there's going to be a lot of pressure on Brent Venables as a first-year coach. I think there's going to be a lot of issues for them in the future. Because when's the last time they went 0-4? I have no idea. So this is the perfect time to right the ship against Kansas that you could win this one. I think you could win it pretty succinctly if you wanted to, but it just depends on how they're going to show up and play.
Wow. By the way, you've made no mention of me sitting here running on the treadmill, man. What's up with that,
dude? Well, you're always doing something. Like every time that we chat, you're either, I'm in the middle of teaching a class, but they're taking a test, or like I'm at the gym, or I'm driving. So
we almost missed this week. I said we cannot miss a week, especially since I need to even up the score, and it's on this game that I'm going to do that. I'm going to have to say that. Kansas is going to win 24 to ready for this 18, a random score. Whoever gets 18
24-18. I mean, I guess it's possible. You'd have to you could miss all three of your PATs. 6 times 3 is 18. You could go for a 2-point conversion after a touchdown, and then if you get it, it's 15. And you kick a field goal and you're up to 18.
There you
I don't know.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, 2-point conversion and a field goal. Okay, you've got the Jayhawks on the docket. All right, I see you. All right, now we got number 8 Oklahoma State down in Fort Worth against number 13 TCU. Again, TCU is playing okay. Here's the problem. TCU's defense looked nasty for the first half of College Game Day against KU in Lawrence this last weekend, and the second half, they looked nasty, as in like they looked disgusting because they couldn't do anything. I mean, it was I think the score was like 14-10 or 10-7 or something going into halftime. It was a really low scoring game. And then the wheels fell off for both of their defense, and it just turned into who was going to score the most points. And TCU ended up with the ball last, scored the ball last. 38-31 was the final. So I'm unimpressed with TCU. I think they're pretenders. I think that they've managed to pick up a couple of wins because there have been extenuating circumstances that have allowed them to do so. Oklahoma State's for real. Oklahoma State, they have the complete offense. They have the complete defense. I will say Oklahoma State was taken to the wire by Texas Tech last week, but I think that's a credit to Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech is a lot better than folks are willing to admit. But I got to go with Oklahoma State. I think TCU is a pretender. I think Oklahoma State's going to put the hurt on them. I think it's going to be 42-21 in favor of the Cowboys.
Dude, for Oklahoma State to be ranked above Oklahoma is just like I'm old school, man. Like, I just can't even comprehend that. That's so crazy. Yeah, I'm going to go with Oklahoma State on this one too. Let's go 31-21.
31-21. Okay, so a 10-point game in favor of the Cowboys. All right, well, I think that's going to pretty much wrap it up. Kansas State, they're going to be playing TCU in Fort Worth next week, so it could be a top 15 matchup. The Cats are down to, I believe, they're number 17 in the polls last time I checked. So that's pretty good for them, but they have to keep picking up some wins. They pick up a win. Let's talk about this for a second because I'm Kansas State and I want to get your opinion. But if they pick up a win, essentially, you need tiebreakers at this point, probably over Texas, Oklahoma State, and TCU. If you can pick up those tiebreakers, they already have Oklahoma, but I think it's pretty conclusive to say that Oklahoma is not making Arlington this year. I will be blown away if they make the championship game because they have to get past Kansas State. Kansas State already beat them. Kansas State has a tiebreaker, so that's a big one for the Wildcats as well. But I think if K-State is able to pull off the upsets against TCU and Oklahoma State, I think you're sitting really well to get to Arlington. I think you could drop one to Texas. I think you could drop one to Baylor or West Virginia. I think this is a year with how wide open the Big 12 is that you could foreseeably go in and lose 3 games, but you have to have the right tiebreakers and you have to be beating TCU, Oklahoma State, and most likely Texas at this point. Texas could be a pretender as well. We'll see what Iowa State does to them here in about 90 minutes. But yeah, that's what I'm predicting for Kansas State. They have to pick up those wins. If they do, I think that they punch their ticket to Arlington.
I think K-State's going to go the season with only 1 loss. I think you hit it on the head earlier when you said that loss that they had earlier is going to prove to be much more winning ground than having won that game.
Yeah. Well, in Tulane, having beaten the Wildcats, has then gone on, pretty much had an undefeated season. I don't think they've lost another game. They're flirting with the top 25, and it's likely that they'll win their conference. I think they're from the American Conference, and TCU's
Green
defense.
Wave.
Yeah, the Green Wave. TCU, they're TCU, Tulane. They're looking really, really great. Oh, hello, Kat. Come here. But they're looking really good these days, and I think that it's up to Kansas State. I think the Big 12 at this point, with how wide open it is, they just need to take care of business. I think they'll find themselves in the championship game.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that, we have 3 SEC teams in the top 7. It'll be the last time this season that we'll have, I think, 3 in the top 7. Tennessee being number 7. I don't think they can beat Alabama today. But, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee to all be up there in the top 10. That's pretty special.
Yeah. Well, they're playing in Knoxville, right?
I know, but I don't know. I got a bad feeling about the game. I will not watch it. If I watch it, they will lose for sure.
I'll watch it on your behalf. How about that?
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Text me if they do something good.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you, Coach. I appreciate it. You've been listening to Call It Coach with Kolby Van Camp and Ben Wade.